folks. Welcome to the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network podcast. I'm your host, Lewis Carlin. Thanks for joining us today. I want to thank everybody that has subscribed to our YouTube channel. Very, very appreciative, very grateful for everyone that has hit that subscribe button. And if you're watching for the first time, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, if you like what you see, check out some more content. And if you're enjoying it, hit that subscribe button. Make me a happy camper. Okay, and it's now time for me to shout out one of our subscribers. I would like to give a shout out to Eaglefly365. Eaglefly365, thank you very much for subscribing to the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network YouTube channel. Eaglefly365, you've made me a very happy person, and I'm very grateful that you've decided to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's get into it. Just got one or two things to talk about right now, and as more news breaks, maybe later today I might be back, but let's get on with it. Yuji Nagata has expressed interest in returning to AEW All Elite Wrestling. SE Scoops reporting here, saying New Japan Pro Wrestling legend Yuji Nagata made his AEW debut just over a week ago. Blue Justice faced John Moxley in a match for the IWGP United States Championship, which was a fantastic match, by the way. If you haven't seen that match, that's one match that you definitely have to see. This signals yet another time that a belt from another out from an. This signals yet another time that a belt. I'm speaking too fast. Sorry, I'm getting excited. Yuji Nagata wants to come back to AEW. This signals yet another time that a belt from an outside promotion has been defended on AEW Dynamite. It was reported by Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that Nagata was interested in return to AEW, and he was extremely happy with how he was treated. Yuji Nagata said he enjoyed his time in AEW and would like to return. He said Tony Khan told him that anytime he wants to come back, he's welcome. With the positive way in which Nagata was portrayed on screen by AEW, New Japan will likely be keen to work with them going forward. New Japan Pro Wrestling strong producer and star Rocky Romero will be wrestling on this week's episode of AEW Dark Elevation, as will Ren Narita. So this is very interesting. Yuji Nagata wants to return to AEW, and I'm all for it. Yuji Nagata is a terrific talent. Even if he's I think he's 49, 50 years old, he's still got it. He's a tremendous talent. He's a New Japan Pro Wrestling legend, and I would love to see him back in AEW. And you kind of think, how would they bring him back? My idea would be this: he came to the ring with Ren Narita. Ren Narita is the young lion who's on excursion right now, who's going to be an absolute star, and he's going to be on AEW Dark Elevation on Monday, so don't miss it. He's taking on Royce Isaacs. So he came to the ring with Ren Narita during the match with John Moxley. Now, New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong, we had Ren Narita and Yuji Nagata taking on, and this was prior to their one-on-one match, taking on John Moxley and Chris Dickinson. Now, Moxley wanted Shota Umino to accompany him to the ring. Shota Umino is going to be another tremendous star, also on excursion right now for New Japan Pro Wrestling. But unfortunately, Shota Umino was injured. So they went with Chris Dickinson. But I'm thinking, what if Yuji Nagata forms a little New Japan Pro Wrestling faction with Ren Narita, Shota Umino, and say Rocky Romero. And they come to AEW, they form a little faction. I mean, there's so many factions right now in AEW. You might as well form another one, right? The New Japan Pro Wrestling faction. And here's another idea. That I had. Satoshi Kojima will be debuting on Impact Wrestling next week. Another New Japan Pro Wrestling legend, former IWGP Heavyweight Champion and former All Japan Triple Crown Champion as well. I think he's the only wrestler, or maybe not the only, but the first wrestler ever to hold both titles. But he's going to be on Impact Wrestling next week. Why not form a tag team with Yuji Nagata and Satoshi Kojima and have them compete in AEW and Impact Wrestling? I think that would be fantastic. I mean, the forbidden door is kicked wide open right now. Might as well have that team perform in Impact Wrestling and in AEW. I mean, why not? I mean, right now, Finn Juice. I think Finn Juice is gone with Impact Wrestling. They dropped the belts to Rhino and Big Joe Doring. The last episode of Impact Wrestling. So I think their time with Impact Wrestling is done. And I know El Fantasmo, I'm not sure if we're going to see him back in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm sorry, in Impact Wrestling, but Satoshi Kojima will be, like I said, debuting next Thursday on Impact Wrestling. It doesn't indicate who his opponent will be, but what if Kojima and Nagata form the tag team? I mean, sure, or they could do the faction. Kojima and Nagata, leaders of the faction, and they bring in Ren Narita, Shota Umino, um, Rocky Romero. They could even go to New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong and get some of the young lions there. They could bring in Clark Connors. I think Clark Connors might have graduated, but nonetheless, they could bring in Clark Connors. There's Alec Coughlin. They could bring in I'm sorry, Alec Coughlin. That they could bring Alex Coughlin. It's I always pronounce it wrong. I'm sorry, but there's also called Fredericks that they could add. There are some other wrestlers, Young Lions, New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong, that they could add to that faction as well. So they could form a nice little faction in AEW, and they could not just be in AEW. They could go, like I said, from promotion to promotion, Impact Wrestling to AEW. I think that would be really cool. I think that would be really cool, and you could have like AEW stars chasing them on Impact Wrestling. You have Impact Wrestling stars chasing them on AEW. There's a lot of potential there. There's a lot of potential. I think that's a good idea. I think that's a good idea. Just start a little New Japan Pro Wrestling faction. Not like an. I don't. I'm not saying let's not do a New Japan Pro Wrestling invasion or New Japan Pro Wrestling versus AEW. Nothing like that. Their invasion angle has been is just been done too many times already. So no invasion angle. I'm just saying just form a New Japan Pro Wrestling faction, and I think that would be cool. It could be led by Nagata and Kojima, or just Nagata, and they could bring in some of the young lions and some of the guys that are on excursion. I think that would be absolutely amazing. But that's just my idea. That's just my idea. But it's very cool that Nagata would like to come back. So I'm sure we're going to see Nagata back in All Elite Wrestling AEW in the near future, and I'm sure we'll see other stars from New Japan Pro Wrestling in All Elite Wrestling in the near future as well. And I'm sure we're going to see some stars from AEW and Impact Wrestling heading over to New Japan Pro Wrestling as well. So I just want to talk about this next one real quick. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I know there was the big report yesterday. Dave Meltzer reported it that Moose had signed a new contract with Impact Wrestling, and everybody got excited. Well, everyone that wanted Moose to resign with Impact Wrestling got excited, I should say. I got really excited. I was like, thank goodness that Impact Wrestling re-signed Moose. I was so excited. I contacted my friend at the Impact Lounge at BQ, and we talked about it for a bit. I tweeted on Twitter that thank goodness Moose is coming back. But then Moose turned my happiness into sadness when he tweeted out that it's not true, that he hasn't signed any contract with Impact Wrestling. So Moose denies the reports that he has re-signed with Impact Wrestling. This is Fightful.com just reporting Moose's future with Impact Wrestling remains uncertain. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer reported that two-time Impact Grand Champion had signed a new deal with the promotion, although no further details were provided. Fightful reached out in an attempt to confirm the news, but we've just heard that Impact Wrestling is only trying to re-sign him. Moose has now come out and denied that he has re-upped with Impact Wrestling, asking people only to get their news about him directly from him. So the tweet was out. Wrestling Observer tweets, Moose signs new contract with Impact Wrestling, and Moose responds. He retweets that with a comment saying not true. So and then he says, please get your news from me and me only. So Dave Meltzer kind of put his foot in his mouth on that one, didn't he? He kind of put his big old foot in his mouth on that one. But I was so excited because Impact Wrestling needs to sign Moose. They need to bring Moose back. And I was so excited when I read that news. I was so happy. I was like, we're gonna get, I did a little podcast on it. I thought we were gonna get Moose and Omega at Slammiversary, but unfortunately, that's not the case. So, and I know I said I wasn't gonna spend too much time on it, but you know what? I'm gonna spend as much time as I like on it because I was pumped. I was pumped when I heard the news. But I was and I was just completely deflated when when Moose said it's not true. But hopefully, Impact Wrestling, at least they're still trying to sign him. Hopefully, they'll sign him soon. Because, like I said, if they lose Moose, like there's nobody out there that they can replace Moose with. So they need to re-sign Moose, and hopefully, it will happen soon. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you very much for listening to me today. I'm Lewis Carlin. This is the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network podcast. Until next time, thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye, and stay safe, everyone. So long. Bye bye.